Hello, highly esteemed students, and welcome back to English with Teacher Dixon. I want us to further study the consonant sounds of English language, which I introduced previously. So, in this particular class, I want to delve into the description of consonant sounds. First, why is it necessary to know the descriptions of every consonant sound? This is because when you know the actual process of articulating sound, you'll be able to pronounce words correctly. We have different sounds underlying different words, and ability to articulate each of the sounds will enable you to pronounce the word correctly. So, knowing the position of your tongue, knowing the organs involved in the articulation of any sound will enable you to articulate the sound accurately. And to know the organs and other processes involved in the articulation of a particular sound, it means you must have an ample understanding of the description of that sound. For instance, imagine trying to articulate the dental fricative sound in word. For instance, this is a dental fricative sound. We have two dental fricative sounds, this and this. This is the voiceless form, whereas this is the voiced form. So for you to be able to articulate this sound in words, you have to know the description of the sound, because it is through the description of the sound that you know where to place your tongue when you want to articulate the sound. Alright, so let's look at the description of consonant sounds. We have the criteria. Criteria has to do with those things you have to consider, those things you have to pay attention to in the process of carrying out any task. So here I'm talking about the criteria for the description of consonant sounds. The first one is phonation process. Phonation process, or you can call it state of the glottis. During my tutorial on the organs of speech, I indicated the glottis. The glottis is the vocal cord, voice box. So when you articulate a consonant sound, in what state, in what condition is that vocal cord? That is what I mean by phonation process or state of the glottis. So state in this context means condition, right? So this is where we acknowledge whether a sound is articulated or produced with a vibration in the throat or without vibration. So those consonant sounds articulated with vibration in the vocal cord are known as voiced sound, and those ones articulated or produced without vibration in the vocal cord are known as voiceless sounds. Let me use those sounds I presented. For instance, if we say there is no vibration, but if we say the, there is vibration. So When you have a vibration in your throat, it means that sound is voiced. When you don't have vibration in your throat during the process of articulating a sound, it means the sound is voiceless. You may be thinking, why didn't I mention this while we were talking about vowel sounds? I didn't talk about phonation process because all vowel sounds are voiced. There is no vowel sound you can articulate without the vibration of the glottis or the vocal cord. But for consonant sounds, they are segmented into two groups. That's the 24 consonant sounds are divided into two categories. We have the voiced sounds and the voiceless sounds. Thus, out of the 24 consonant sounds, we have 15 voiced consonant sounds and 9 voiceless consonant sounds. So we have that description under phonation process or state of the glottis. So when you want to consider a sound in terms of description, first of all, indicate whether that consonant sound is voiced or voiceless, because state of the glottis or phonation process is the first criterion in the description of consonant sounds. Number 2, we have planes or organs of articulation. I was very intentional when I treated organs of speech first before description of consonant sound, because I know with reference to the organs of speech you have a vivid understanding of the place or organs of articulation. So when you're talking about place in this context, you're referring to organs. Place of articulation is the same thing as organ of articulation. So by place or organs of articulation, I'm referring to those parts in the mouth that aid the articulation of consonant sounds. For instance, if we want to say as in pen, the first sound there, what are the organs involved in the articulation of that sound? You discover that your upper lip will join together with your lower lip, meaning that we say the sound with the help of the two lips. Thus, the place or organs of articulation of that sound is the two lips. Alright, so we have place of articulation. We can have sounds described as bilabial when we consider place of articulation. That is, if the two lips are involved. We have bilabial sounds like those are bilabial consonant sounds. We also have alveolar sounds. Alveolar sounds are those sounds produced with the help of the alveolar root. What do I mean by alveolar root? The tooth root. So when you say it, the tip of your tongue, you touch the tooth root, and then the sound will be realized. For instance, those are alveolar sounds. We also have and so on. Then we have descriptions like palato-alveolar. That's a combination of the alveolar root and the hard palate. We can also have the palatal sounds. Palatal from the hard palate. Any sound realized with the help of the hard palate is known as palatal sound. Then we have velar sounds. Sounds produced with the help of the velum or soft palate. To understand this, or so that this will not sound like botanical names to you, I would like you to make reference to the previous video on organs of speech. in order to understand these different places or organs of articulation. So we have sounds described as velar sounds if the soft palate or the velum is used. Okay, we'll go into details talking about places of articulation when we want to consider each of the consonant sounds. Alright, the third criterion for the description of consonant sound is manner of articulation. Manner has to do with behavior or attitude of something. So when we are talking about manner of articulation, we are not really referring to the manner of the person speaking, rather the manner of the organs of speech involved in the articulation of sound. If we say that the two lips are used in the articulation of the bilabial sounds, like what is the manner of articulation of that sound? What will happen to the two lips when that sound is articulated? That's when we talk about manner of articulation. And when you want to talk about manner of articulation of the sound you will call it nasal. You describe it as nasal in the sense that the two lips will come together, you collide together and block the flow of air completely from passing through the mouth, and the air will find its way out through the nose. So that's the manner of articulation of that sound. And manner of articulation is a third criterion in the description of consonant sound. So we have different descriptions for consonant sounds when we consider the manner of articulation. So we can have a sound described as plosive, can have affricates, we have fricatives, we have nasal, we have liquid, and semivowels. We are going to look into them one after the other and you get to understand. But note that to describe any consonant sound, attention must be paid to one, the phonation process or state of the glottis, that is whether the sound is voiced or voiceless. Then the place or organs of articulation, that is the parts in the mouth involved in the articulation of the sound, and of course the manner of articulation, which has to do with the behavior of the organs involved in the articulation of that sound. Having said this, or having exposed you to the criteria for the description of consonant sound, I want to, at this point, remind you of the criteria for the description of vowel sounds. For vowel sounds, we said that we have the duration, the height of the tongue, the part or position of the tongue, and the shape of the lips. That's because vowel sounds are those sounds produced without the obstruction of the flow of air that passes from the glottis through the mouth. So when you're saying vowel sounds, there is no obstruction. So you don't need all these organs of speech. It is only the tongue. So you describe a vowel sound based on the movement of the tongue and based on the part of the tongue. Is the tongue raised towards the roof of the mouth or lowered? Is it the part of the front part of the tongue that is raised, the middle, or the back of the tongue? So those are the things you consider, and of course the shape of the lips when you want to articulate the sound. So that is for vowel sound, but for consonant sound, we have the place or organs of articulation and the manner of those organs, and also the state of the glottis. So please take note of this. I want to believe you have a vivid understanding of this lesson. Do well to drop your comments, like, and of course share. Many thanks. I remain Teacher Dixon.